Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Today's video is going to be a completely vegan and cruelty-free drugstore makeup tutorial. It is the look that I am wearing right now, and yeah, I had a lot of fun putting this look together. So if you would like to see how I did that, then please stay tuned. So my skin has been prepped as far as my skincare goes. I am going to be starting off with the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Face Primer, and this for me is really good at mattifying and smoothing. Just a teeny tiny bit, and rub it between my fingers and kind of pat it on my nose, my chin, the center of my forehead, and right on the area between sides of my nose and like the apple of my cheek, because that's where the pores are for me, and I really like to pat this in. The foundation that probably the only foundation from the drugstore that I trust as far as color, consistency, and ability to make my skin look better is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation, and I wear this in the color Porcelain. As far as foundations go for me, this is a very matte foundation, so I don't use a lot of it, and I mean, I'm gonna use quite a bit today, but I don't normally use a lot of it. My skin is just kind of breaking out, so I want to cover that up. And I'm just going to be using a dampened beauty blender to bounce this in to my skin. And I think that this builds to a medium coverage the way that I do it. I definitely don't put this absolutely everywhere because I will follow up with concealer. So I'm just going to follow up with my Wet n Wild Photo Focus Concealer. If you watch any of my videos, you know this is the one. If they made this just one shade lighter. I really don't know who I have to go through as far as the appropriate channels to get this to happen, but I will call my congressman if it means that I get a lighter shade in the photo focus. And once again, I'm not doing like a perfect full coverage. If my acne really wants to come through, it will come through. And there isn't a ton that I can do to stop that from happening. I just kind of do my best. That is still an improvement to me. So now that my base is done, I'm going to move into my contour, and for that I'm going to be using another Wet n Wild product, but this is the Wet n Wild Mega Cushion Contour in the color Cafe Au Slay, which only kills me a little bit to say out loud. This is what it looks like. It's very spongy and weird. I usually just use what's on the lid because that is enough for me, and I'm going to be picking that up with a Real Techniques contour brush, swirling that product in and buffing it down the back of the cheek. Now I imagine this is a much more buildable contour product for someone who has darker skin than I do. I don't mean deep skin, I mean like a medium tone skin. I don't imagine this works if you have dark skin. I think that, you know, that's kind of one of the struggles with drugstore products is a shade range, and I think that unfortunately some of the more successful brands who are able to achieve that are the ones that are not cruelty-free because they have a lot more money behind them. And that really sucks. You guys know where I like to contour by now. I'm just kind of going around the perimeter of the face, running a little down the sides of the nose. Before this dries down too much, I'm going to take my beauty blender over the top and pat it in because I don't want to have orangey stripes going down my face because that's not cute. And I think universally it's now agreed upon that that's not cute. So now another Wet n Wild product. This is the Mega Glow Blush, and this is in the color Floral Majority. I'm taking a Real Techniques buffing brush and running it over the top of this blush stick. I've tried using this just rubbed onto the cheeks from the applicator itself, but I'll be honest with you, that looks chunky, and I don't want that. So I like to pat it into the cheeks. This is a beautiful flush of peachy pink, and you just push it in. That's why we don't powder yet, because otherwise you do end up looking crazy and you can't come back from it, and you want to be able to come back from it. But now, like, oh, that's a nice flush to my skin. That's the look. I just want to look healthy and dewy and glowy and speaking of glowy, you guys know how I feel about highlighter, so I don't need to go into depth about this. But this is the Mega Glow Hello Halo Liquid Highlighter, and this is in the color Halo Goodbye. So what I'm gonna do is dot this down my nose. That is a lot of highlight. It's okay. And I'm also going to dot this on the tops of my cheeks. This is kind of like a pinky, goldy, silver kind of color. And on the top of my lip, a dab on my chin, a dab above the brow. I'm just going to push this into the skin using a BH Cosmetics 128 brush. And now we're shining. Alright, so the skin is pretty much done. I am going to set with a powder. So this is the MILANI Prep Set and Go. I did just mention this in my favorites video of March. It is a translucent powder. I'm just picking that up on an e.l.f. blush brush, and I'm going to pat this over my breakouts and underneath my contour. I do like that looking a little bit sharp, but I'm gonna place it in the center of the forehead, and I'm patting down the sides of the nose and onto the cheek, pretty much everywhere that we put that primer earlier. Before foundation, we want that to be nice and matte. Now let's move on to eyes and brows. I'm just gonna zoom you guys in real quick. These drugstore brows and I have been through, we've been through a couple stages to get it right, but I feel like we are doing the best that we ever have. So this is the NYX Micro Brow Pencil in the color Espresso. Is it very similar to the Anastasia Brow Wiz as far as packaging goes? Yes. The Espresso is very warm, but I am not a quitter. I'm going to make this work. Like, I don't know if you guys can see that, but she's a little too warm for my liking. I'm going to set my brows down with the Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Mascara, and this is in the color Nothing But Bru-nette. Alright, and now for the eye makeup, I'm going to be starting off with my e.l.f. eye primer. This is Cheap as Chips, and I think it works pretty well, so I'm just going to throw a little bit of that onto my eyes. Now I have two eyeshadow palettes here. You don't have to use two eyeshadow palettes. I just like variety, and these are both very good and very affordable, and they're vegan, so I want to tell you about them. So the first one is the NYX Lid Lingerie eyeshadow palette. These are all matte shadows. Yes. Matte, warm, neutral palette from the drugstore. Vegan, cruelty-free. Can I get an amen? Very beautiful, very buttery, and just an all-around good palette. And then we have the newly reformulated Wet n Wild eyeshadow palettes. I used to have one of these in the color Comfort Zone. Like this video if you used to have a comfort zone because you were in high school and you were poor and you wanted shimmery eyeshadow all over your eyes. Yeah. So this is in the color Not a Basic Peach. So I'm just gonna use a big fluffy Morphe brush and the pale color from the Lid Lingerie palette, and I'm going to mattify my eyelids. I always do this with a translucent powder or a powder that matches my skin tone. Whatever you want to do, this just ensures that it won't be going anywhere. I'm actually going to dive into the Wet n Wild palette now, and I'm going to pick up this orangey shadow right here, and I'm going to throw this into my crease. Alright, now I've decided I want a warm smoky eye, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of this color from the Lid Lingerie palette. Lid Lingerie, look at that pigmentation. And I'm going to place this onto the lid, and I'm going to pat it on so I don't get all of the fallout. Mattes are blending really well. I'm just gonna pick up that initial blending brush and go around my edges. With whatever's left on the brush, I'm just going to run that underneath my lower lash line. On a smaller Morphe fluffy pencil brush, I'm going to pick up the kind of mocha brown shade in the Lid Lingerie palette, and I'm gonna run this really tight to the lower lash line and create some smoke and some drama. And I'm also gonna run that on the very outer corner of the top lashes. And immediately go back in with our initial blending brush that we've been using and kind of just buff that in. I really don't want there to be a line of any kind. I just want it to be a hint of a shadow here. With the Beige Cosmetics 132 brush, which is just an itty bitty pencil brush, I am going to hop into my Wet n Wild palette here and pick up this shimmery shadow, this light one right here next to the gold. I'm going to put that on the inner corners of the eye. Now I'm just going to curl my lashes and apply my e.l.f. mascara. This is the Waterproof Lengthening and Defining. The writing is rubbed off because this is my favorite mascara at the moment. I get compliments on my lashes when I wear this, and no one ever compliments my lashes unless I'm wearing false lashes, and then they're like, ooh, what false lashes are those? Because I know those aren't yours, and I'm just like, thank you. So I'm gonna apply a coat of this to my top and bottom lashes because it is just so beautiful. Now I'm just going to do the lips and we will be all finished. I'm going to be using the MILANI Color Statement Lip Liner in the color Spice to begin my lip shape. I'm just giving some really super subtle definition around the Cupid's bow and the bottom of the lip. Okay, I lied. I'm just overdrawing like the top of the Cupid's bow just a little. Don't come for me. And over the top, I'm going to be using the traditional MILANI lipstick, and this is in the color Bahama Beige. And this just looks so pretty with this liner and this eye look. And this is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because I love having you all here. And yeah, don't forget to check out all of the links in the description box, as well as my social media as well. And I hope you guys all have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Bye.